Bites of Pie. This video will kickstart Lab5b, opening and closing accounts. File Bank Accounts 5b contains a definition for a simple bank account class with methods to withdraw, deposit, get a balance and account number, and return a string representation of that bank account. Note that the constructor for the class creates a random account number. It's really not a random number, it's just starts at 100, and every time you call a new bank account, it'll increment the account number. So the first account will be 1,000, next 1,001, 1,002, and so on. So we're going to study this a little bit, and then we're going to head into these different tasks. There are 4 tasks. I'm going to walk through the first task with you and give you direction on the second, third, and fourth. At the end of the day, we're only going to be making changes to the bank account class and the run accounts class. We're not going to be changing the test accounts, so only these 2 files are what you're going to be submitting. So let's start off with the first one. We're going to track the number of accounts created. So we're going to start off by creating a private static integer called num_accounts to hold this value. So it's going to count how many accounts we're going to create. Now it looks very similar to this account number, but we're just going to start off with 0. Now, notice I'm not initializing it like I am account number. Account number starts at 1,000 and keeps going up. Num accounts, because I didn't specify it, I didn't initialize it, it defaults to 0. Alright, section 1b, increment the counter. Add code to the constructor to increment the variable every time the count is created. So there's a section here that says increment num accounts. So I do that here, and 1b is done. Number C, create an accessor method. So now that I've incremented num accounts, I need to be able to get the accounts. So I'm going to create this function that all it does is return num accounts. So luckily there's a section 1c here that tells me, hey, come and get it. So here I'm going to create a static method to get the account. So first off, it's a getter, so I need to make sure that it's public so that everybody can access it. It's going to return num accounts, and if we remember, num accounts is an integer, so I probably need to return an integer. The name of the function is get num accounts, and it doesn't need to take any parameters in, right? So it takes in 0 parameters, and all I'm going to do with this function is just return num accounts. Now, one thing I didn't do is this is a static number, but I probably need to make this static as well so that I can get it no matter what the instance variable is. Lastly, I'm going to test the counter. So here in this function, there's a class called test accounts, where all it does is I just create new accounts, and I kind of lose the pointer to it every time. But I'm going to loop through a certain number of times, and it's going to create a new account, print out the name of the account, and then tell me how many accounts I've created. So let's run this and see if this works. So how many accounts? Let's make 5 accounts. Alright, so here I can see it created an account 1, name 1, another 1 accounts, 2 accounts. So even though I'm creating these new test accounts, I can call the generic class bank accounts, and it knows how many bank accounts I've created because it's accessing this statically. Now, if it wasn't static, I'd have to say test account get numbers. But there's a but you can do that, but the compiler will flag you and say, you know, you should access a static method using the class name, because we talked about how static methods are bound to the class name and not instances. The second part, we're going to be closing the account. So we're going to create a close function in the bank account class, and there's a section here too. So it's actually section 2. My copy is outdated, but it's correct on the document here. I'm going to be creating a close account, which will actually append the word closed to the account and 0 out the balance. So there's 2 things you need to do with this function: append closed to the account name and then set the balance to 0. So 2 things for that function. The third thing is I'm going to go to this consolidate. There's a consolidate function already written for us. Here we go. is a consolidate function, and then I'm going to do what each one of these to-dos are stating. First off, I'm going to compare the two names. So I'm going to consolidate accounts with the same name. Only accounts with the same name can be consolidated. The new account gets the same name on the old accounts, but with a new account number. So here, I'm going to compare account 1 name with account 2's name, and if they're not the same, I need to exit early. I need to stop. I don't need to do anything else, so I can return early. Secondly, I'll probably want to return null early on to say that, hey, I couldn't consolidate them because they don't have the same name. So the next thing I want to do is consolidate with different account numbers. Two accounts with the same number can't be consolidated. So if I passed in the same account twice, like account 1 and account 2, and they're the same account, I don't want to double my money because that's cheating. I can only combine two accounts with the same name but a different account number. So here I'm going to, instead of checking to see if they have the same name, here I'm going to check to see if they have different accounts. If they don't have different accounts, I'm going to do, if they are the same account, I also want to return null. Once I'm getting past these checks, I'm going to create a new bank account. I'm going to name it the same name as the existing account. I'm going to put the sum. I'm going to sum up the sum of these two accounts, and then I'm going to close. Remember this function here in step 2. I've created a close function. I want to close both of the existing accounts, and finally I'm going to return the account. Lastly, I'm going to implement the run accounts section. All these sections where I'm going to read in the names, create new accounts, close the first account, and consolidate the second and third. Now I'm going to skip ahead so I can test to make sure that my program works and it matches the sample output below. Okay, I'm back. I've implemented all 4 of these changes, number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now I'm ready to test it to make sure that my output looks just like the output in the sample. So here I am in my program. I'm going to hit run. Enter the account first name, John, Mary, and Mary. Alright, before I see that the account is 100, 100, 1000, 1001, 1002. I'm going to first close the account, close the top account so you can see that it's closed. And also I'm trying to consolidate the second and third accounts since they have the same name but different accounts. I can see that both of those, at the end of the day, both of those Mary accounts are closed. 1001, 1002 are closed. And I have a new 1003 account which has both of the hundreds consolidated. So I know that that works. Another test, I'll run the second test so I can see the second sample output. John, Jacob, Jingleheimer. And I notice that I still close the first account, that's no problem, but I can't consolidate. I have a notification to me saying I can't consolidate the second and the third account because they're 2 different names. So at the end of the day, I didn't create a new account and the other 2 remain open and they didn't close. They still have the same balance. So that matches both outputs. Thanks for watching.